Getting out of our breaks when we're in our crossover run. We're talking about that today on DB Tip Clips. Chad Wilson, All Eyes DB Camp. Today we're talking about coming out of our breaks in our crossover run. Oftentimes when we talk about coming out of our breaks, we're usually talking about coming out of our back pedal. Well, sometimes we got to get out of that back pedal because the receiver is pushing us up the field and he's broken our cushion, and we ultimately end up in a crossover run. Some of y'all call it a side run, but it's when we go from this to this and we start running. If the receiver breaks his route off while we're in that mode right there, we've got to be able to come out of that break efficiently so we can get to the receiver and make a play on the ball. That's what we're talking about today. Before we get into the first stage in coming out of that crossover run, let's talk about the little basic parts of the crossover run that have to be right if we're going to end up making a good break on the ball. First of all, in the crossover run, front shoulder has to be down so that we don't have too much weight this way, making it difficult for us to break downhill when we've got to come out of that break. So the front shoulder needs to be down. The second part is we need to have this front shoulder open and not closed off. We don't ever have our because we wouldn't be able to see the receiver, number one. Number two is if we are closed like this and we've got to break in that direction or in the break in this direction, it's going to take too much time to get there if we close our shoulder. So that front shoulder has to be open. So what's that first step? When we are in that crossover run, the first step is planting our back foot. This is going to stop us from going in that direction. So we've got to plant the back foot. We're in that crossover run, put that back foot down. We want to keep it somewhere under our center of gravity. We don't want to plant out here. There's no power here. Plus, when we get outside of our circle, you're going to slip. So you want to get that back foot down. If you're going in this direction, that is your back foot. If you're going in this direction, this is your back foot, and you want to get it down under your hips. A lot of guys, when they're running and they want to make that break, they try to break off of this, the front foot. That is a recipe for slipping and falling. You cannot plant this foot and expect to go anywhere, okay? You cannot make this front foot do everything. Drop that back foot, that's step number one. So we've dropped that back foot. Step number two is the most important part of this whole thing. Get our eyes to the receiver. We've been looking at the quarterback, and since we've dropped that back foot, we know the quarterback is getting ready to throw the route to a receiver that's broken off. The most important part is step number two, finding the receiver with your eye. So let's pretend that he ran a comeback on us. I've planted that back foot. Now I've got to get my eyes to the receiver. As soon as that back foot lands, find what it is the quarterback is throwing to. If he was throwing a curl route, find that receiver with your eye. So step number two is find the receiver with your eye. So we've got our back foot down. We have found the receiver with our eyes. Step number three comes in. In order for us to drive that receiver the way that we want, we've got to rotate this back foot after we plant it. So if we're going on a comeback, I've planted, my eyes are to the receiver. Now I've got to rotate that back foot. That is going to turn my hips in the direction of the receiver. If I was breaking on a curl, plant the back foot, find it with my eyes, rotate the back foot, lines my hips up. Sometimes guys plant, leave the foot this way. That's when you wrap around and you take a roundabout route to the receiver. That's not going to get you there. You've got to plant that back foot, rotate it to the receiver so you can plant and drive out of there. So step number three is rotate that back foot so your hips can open up to the receiver. We've planted our back foot, we found the receiver with our eyes, and we've rotated our hips. What's the final step? Replacing this back foot with the front foot. So we're just going to bring this front foot, replace the back foot so we can drive out. If I was breaking on a comeback, I plant the back foot, find the receiver, rotate, bring this front foot, replace, and drive out. Those are the steps. You've got to be able to replace that back foot with the front foot and push off that front foot and get out of there. That is step number four. All right, so let's summarize. In order for you to have a good break out of your crossover run, first of all, front shoulder should be down and open in your run. Step number one is planting that back foot under our hips. Step number two, finding the receiver with our eyes. Step number three, rotating the back foot. Step number four, replacing the back foot with the front foot so we can drive out. Follow those steps, do it over and over. You'll find yourself getting to those receivers, making a break on the ball, getting the pass breakups and the interceptions, the way that you want to.
You want to raise your game to the elite level. I'm talking the best that you can be. Go ahead and join my All Eyes DB Camp members area. I have over 200 videos and posts in there talking about everything from DB technique to drills to coverage breakdowns, everything you need to reach the absolute tip top of your game. I have a link to it down in the description. Go ahead and click that. Check it out. It's the best investment as a defensive back you will ever make.
If you're a defensive back, coach defensive backs, or train defensive backs, then you absolutely have to own a copy of my ebook, 101 DB Tips. Need help covering slants? It's in the book. Need to know how to get out of your breaks faster? It's in the book. How to become a better tackler? It's in the book. What's the best way to train? It's in the book. If you're looking to put the clamps on wide receivers and stall the passing game, then this is the book for you. Where else are you going to find 101 of the best DB tips ever created? Get the book. Hit the link in the description and get your copy today. Greatness awaits you. Now you're on your way to getting those interceptions and pass breakups. You're ready to get some DB stats. But how do you look doing it? You can pick up this long sleeve gear and other gear like it. Got no sleeves, hoodies, etc. on my online store. Check the link down in the description. And while you're playing like a pro, you can look like a pro. Thank you for watching the video. Hope you liked it. Go ahead and give it a like, a share, and subscribe to my channel. And as always, All Eyes DB Camp. Consistency breeds results.